Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. Hope you had a great weekend. It should be Monday, April 27th when you're watching this video. And we're going to get this week started by talking about job applications. Just some tips and do's and don'ts on filling out job applications and that whole process. So we're going to get started. So when you pick up an application, nowadays a lot of applications are online, so you could actually do them online. But if it's one that you actually have to go to the place of business and pick it up, when you go, make sure you're prepared for an interview. They might have a few extra minutes, and they're in a hurry to fill that position, and they might say, "Hey, you want to go ahead and interview now?" So make sure you're prepared for that. You want to dress appropriately. Make sure you look nice, and even if they don't decide to interview you that day, the secretary or the person that you talk to, they might be asked by the hiring person, "Hey, what'd you think about that person when they came and picked up the application? Um, First impression. What was your first impression of them?" So make sure you look good. Make sure you're nice and courteous to whoever you speak to when you go and pick up the application. Next, moving on, you want to make sure you read the application carefully. You want to make sure you read every word. Know what's being asked of you before you write something down. A lot of times they will use the application to judge how well you follow directions. So if you mistakenly write the wrong thing in a section that they're asking for something else, they might say, this guy, he's not following directions. So make sure you follow directions, read the entire form, make sure you know what you're being asked before you write it down, and fill out the entire application. And that's the next one. Make sure you fill in all blanks. You don't want to leave anything blank. Make sure you fill it in completely, accurately, and truthfully. If there was a question that doesn't apply to you, that's when you would put the N/A, meaning not applicable. It means it doesn't apply to you. You want to make sure you check your answers. Make sure they're correct. Use correct spelling, correct grammar, punctuation. Make sure it's accurate. Make sure all the information that you write down is accurate. Contact info, dates of employment, all that. Type of ink that you should use when you're filling out an application. It should always be ink. Shouldn't be pencil, marker, anything like that. Blue or black ink only. No greens, reds, blue. Yeah, blue is fine. Greens or reds, anything crazy. Blue or black only. You want to make sure you print. Don't write in cursive. I know a lot of you guys don't write in cursive anyway, but print only on an application. There will be a section on the application that asks you for the position desired or position applying for. You don't want to just put the word anything in that section. Don't just put whatever y'all are hiring for, or I'll do it all, or anything like that. You want to try to find out the specific position that they're hiring for and write that in there. That just shows that you have a goal in mind for the exact position, and that you've spent a little bit of time doing maybe some research about the position. So always put a specific job down that you're applying for. In this section, asking about your salary that you expect. A lot of times employers will use this question to screen applicants out. It's best not to put an actual amount down. You want to make sure you put down, just give a salary range, maybe between 30 and 45,000, a range like that. Or you can even put negotiable. It means we can negotiate it, or open, or something like that. The reason for this is if you you say you're putting down, I want $1 million. Well, they're automatically going to count you out because they're not going to pay you $1 million. So you don't want to overshoot it and put something too high that they're not willing to put they're not willing to pay, or you also don't want to, underestimate and put something too low, and then they're like, oh yeah, let's hire him because that's all he's expecting. So don't ever put an exact amount, just put negotiable or open or something like that. In the personal info, when it asks for a phone number, well, maybe you don't have a phone. Well, you want to make sure that you give a number of someone who can take a message for you. That's very important because that's what they're going to use to contact you most of the time. Education and training. You want to list all your academic, vocational, and professional education, all your schools attended, and you want to be prepared to attach copies of any certificates or any other documents that you might have. If you're planning to attend college, so all you guys are, y'all are all still in high school. If you plan to attend college, you can write in, I plan to attend whatever college and when you plan to attend. In the work experience section, you always want to start by listing your most recent employer first. So it should either be your current or the most recent job that you've had, and then just work your way back from there. You want to make sure you give complete and accurate names, meaning the name of the business, the accurate dates that you worked there, the address and the phone numbers, your job title, your supervisor's name. All that information is very important and you need to know it, so it needs to be on their application. Any gaps in your work history, you want to be able to explain that also. So if you've got a gap of a month in between jobs, you could just say searching for employment, or say you were taking care of a family member, you could put that in. Always have an explanation for a gap in employment. Any special job-related skills, you want to use action verbs to list your special job-related skills, training, licenses, and accomplishments. You want to make sure you list any types of equipment or tools that you are trained or have experience using. That's going to make you stand out from other applicants. So if you've got experience operating a forklift, or experience driving a dump truck, anything like that, any experience or skills that you have, make sure you put that down. They're going to use that. You're going to use that info to set you apart from the other applicants. All right. And in the work history section, they're always going to ask you the reason for leaving the job. So if you're no longer at that job, they're going to want to know why. You want to be careful in this section. You don't want to badmouth your former employer. You don't want to say, well, I'm not at that job because I didn't like my boss, or my boss was an idiot, or I hated my boss, or I hated my job, or anything like that. Don't ever badmouth a former employer. That's going to make you look bad. So you want to use, put in something like it was a school conflicted with my school schedule, or I was looking for a better opportunity, or I desired more experience, or a career change, or something like that. You always want to make it positive. You don't want it to be negative. So absolutely do not badmouth your employer or your former employer, no matter how bad you hated them or how bad the job was. Try to come up with a better reason for leaving that job. Right in the reference section, all employers are going to call you references. They also might request a written evaluation by mail. So you want to make sure you have your references ready to go. All their info needs to be accurate, so they're able to get in contact with those references. A lot of times, if you use a former employer for a reference, the only thing that they're going to be able to tell them is when you worked for them, and whether or not they would rehire you. So if you're needing to use like a character reference or something like that, you want to make sure it's like a teacher, a coach, someone like that, counselor, principal, minister, something like that. Most of the time they don't want you to use a relative, so don't try to use a relative as a reference, because of course your relative is going to make you say that you're, the best thing in the world. So don't use a relative. You want to make sure you ask the permission to use them as a reference. Make them, make sure that they know that you're going to use them as a reference. Don't make it a surprise to them when that employer calls them and says, hey, so-and-so put you as a reference. You don't want that to be a surprise to them, so make sure they know about it. And make sure it's someone who's going to speak highly of you. You don't want to assume that someone really likes you and thinks highly of you, and then they call them and then they got nothing but bad things to say about you. So choose your references wisely. All right, and final details. You want to make sure you sign. Don't print your name, and include the current date at the end of the application. You want to go back over the application and check it carefully. Make sure you completed the entire thing. You don't want anything left blank. Once you fill out that application, it is a binding document, and any misinformation could be grounds for termination. So don't make up anything. Don't put down lies. Don't fabricate anything to make yourself look better, because they're going to check it out, and like I've told y'all before, you're going to get caught up. If you're asked when you can begin work, you want to be sure that you allow enough time to give your current employer, if you're currently employed, at least 2 weeks. And if you're not currently employed and they ask you when you can start, you just give them a date. Don't just say whenever y'all need me. Just say, oh, I can start today, something like that. Give them a date. All right, that is all I've got. You guys got 2 more videos to watch today. One is the 3 deadly traps when filling out applications. It's a real short one. It's not going to take long, and it's good info in there. And also the other one is explaining your criminal history. So this part, it's a shorter video too, and it's very important. It just kind of guides you on how to explain your criminal history during the job application process. I think it could be helpful for you guys. I'm giving you guys so you're gonna have 3 assignments for today and tomorrow. There's an application that's already been filled out, and it's filled out very poorly, and I want you guys to go through it and circle all the mistakes. The next one is going to be a blank application. You guys go ahead and fill it out completely. Just kind of practice on getting you guys familiar with filling out an application, and then you're going to have an application quiz. Very simple. If you've been paying attention to the video and the other 2 videos that you're going to watch, it'll be very easy. So those are your 3 assignments for today and tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys on Wednesday.